minimize interruptions, but we will be opening the floor for questions at the end, so feel free to speak up then. The goal of our speaker series, Diversity in Water, is to highlight the stories of diverse leaders in the water industry, how their identity impacted their journey, and how they see diversity playing a role in the future of the water industry. So this webinar series is a joint initiative between the Ohio AWWA Diversity Committee and the Young Professionals Committee. And the purpose of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee is to proactively promote volunteer and employment opportunities that encourage diversity and celebrate the mosaic of people who bring a variety of backgrounds, styles, perspectives, and beliefs to the water industry. And then the Young Professionals Committee is committed to the advancement of students and young professionals in the water industry and serves as a welcome mat for students and young professionals to OAWWA and the water industry. AWWA defines a YP as someone who's 35 years old or younger or has been in the industry for less than 10 years, but all water professionals are welcome to join these events. Typically, there's a few happy hours in each district and plant tours, outreach to universities, and volunteering at the State Science Day. So then after all that housekeeping, at this time, I'm happy to introduce our speaker for this evening. Charles L. Moore Jr. is the Water Maintenance Coordinator of the City of Columbus Department of Public Utilities. Charles has been with DPU since 2017, and he manages all water distribution maintenance activities where he oversees a staff of 80 plus employees when fully staffed. Prior to working for the City of Columbus, Charles spent 24 years with the City of Cleveland, where he held various positions, the last of which was Superintendent of Distribution Maintenance. He graduated from Garret Morgan Cleveland School of Science. He then briefly attended Ohio University in the early 90s. He has an associate's degree in business management from Eastern Gateway Community College, certification in AAB Business Management from Eastern Gateway Community College. He's currently attending Franklin University with a bachelor's in business administration anticipated in December of 2024, OEPA Water Distribution 2 certification, and Backflow certification. Charles is a member of Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society and is currently the chairperson for the Southeast OAWWA Section. Married to Tara Moore with 5 children, 3 of which are adults, and 11-year-old twins, Charles coaches the City of Columbus Hydrant team, which are the current state champions. He loves all outdoor activities, especially fishing and hunting. He's an avid memorabilia collector, including sports cards, sport items, and over 2,000 Hot Wheels. He was a youth basketball coach for 15 plus years, and being born and raised in Cleveland, he remains a huge Cleveland sports fan. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Charles, you can take it away. Thank you again for being here.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Again, I am Charles Moore. Thank you for having me at the Diversity in Water Speaker Series. It was an honor and a privilege to be here, and I am thankful for the opportunity to share my story. Moore family. So part of this, I felt that family defines you. Some people may say that your profession defines you, but to me, it's family. And that has helped me in my career. And so I'm going to start with a little bit more about the Moore family. These 2 young ladies were my grandmothers. They've passed on, but the one in the all white is my dad's mom. And then I have my mom's mom standing next to her. In the middle is me and my lovely wife, Tara. Over to the right-hand side, you have me and the twins. A lot of people don't believe that they're twins because our daughter is about a foot taller and about double her brother's weight. And then in the lower left-hand corner, you have my little brother and little sister, actually. My sister is right behind me, 14 months. And then our little brother is about 6 years behind me. Here I have more family. So the first picture just showed the twins. My family, this is my entire family, me, my wife, the twins, our oldest daughter, Kenecia, oldest boy, Courtney, and then Charles the third. And then I just shared some other photos of my dad with me, my wife, and the twins at graduation. And then the other side, me with my mom, and then my dad is in the background talking to random people. And in the middle there, it's Charles or Trey the third and Cai, the WWE fans. They're huge WWE fans. So this was actually at an event at Nationwide. So we've traveled several states, been to several locations to see WWE. I'm kind of try to take them to various places to experience WWE in various locations. My educational path. I was actually able to find a picture of St. Joe's in Collinwood. The school was located on Eastern 146 and St. Clair Avenue in Cleveland, Ohio. It's right down the street from Collinwood High School. For anyone who's familiar with the Cleveland area, next to the picture next to that is Garret Morgan Cleveland School of Science. That building has since been torn down. Those that are familiar with the Cleveland area, it now occupies the old Max Hayes High School. In the middle is OU. I was there about 2 years, not quite. I did not obtain a degree. I left and decided to kind of enter into the workforce, and we'll get into that story later. You have the Eastern Gateway photo for EGCC, Eastern Gateway Community College, where I was able to obtain my associate's degree and a certification in business, and Franklin University, where I will be graduating from shortly. With a minor in management and leadership, and my major is business administration. How did my career start? So I'm gonna mix things up here just a little bit. This is Cleveland Water, and I wanted to represent them because I spent 24 years there. And for those that may not understand what a superintendent of water is and some of the various positions I held, we repaired underground infrastructure. The upper right-hand corner is a picture of a 42-inch valve that needed to be replaced. The big red valve is actually the picture of what replaced that. That went into there with a couple sections of ductile pipe. To the lower right-hand side, you'll see a repair we made on a concrete water main, and we used ductile piping to bridge the gap between the two pieces. This was on the west side of Cleveland, West 130th, or that general area. Unfortunately, this is where oops is so important. The gas company drilled right through the center of our concrete water main, or Cleveland's concrete water main, and it required us to replace a couple lengths of pipe to make that repair. Now, this is my new home, City of Columbus. Here you have a photo of the recent magazine that they featured me in. And so I just found a piece of pipe to stand in just to kind of give people a perspective of what it is that I do, or my crews do. Similar role as superintendent of water, the water maintenance coordinator, almost identical tasks and duties. Where we're responsible for the maintenance of our underground infrastructure with the city of Columbus. We also perform the maintenance for our hydrants, anything to do with our underground water lines, service lines, water mains, trunk mains, transmission mains. I have the beautiful picture of the skyline of the city up front and one of the dams below. The award-winning or championship-winning tap team and hydrant teams, we were state champs. The clock on the right-hand side, the 1 minute and 21 seconds, is actually the time that we ran. So anyone that's not familiar, AWWA has national and state competitions. Some of those include top ops, where I'm happy to say Columbus also won the top ops last year. We were the hydrant champions, and then the gentlemen in blue were the tap champions. We recently returned from ACE out in California, representing Ohio, We were in the top third of about 50 teams. The hydrant team finished about 12th, and I think the tap team was 15th. So not bad. Not what we wanted, not what we expected, but we're getting ready for states in August. It'll be in Sandusky, Ohio, August 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. So we're hoping to repeat as state champs and have an opportunity to redeem ourselves at nationals next year, which will be in Denver. Some career highlights. I was the youngest, and as my understanding, still was the youngest unit leader or foreman ever promoted in the city of Cleveland's Department of Public Utilities. I was about 20 years old. Other things that have touched me or meant a lot in my career is any and all promotions. Anytime you can be promoted within an organization, it leaves and creates a good feeling. So I was at one time a unit leader or foreman. I was promoted to supervisor, served as supervisor for about 6 years, and then I was promoted to the position of superintendent. Other career highlights would have been features in various utility magazines, both in the city of Cleveland and city of Columbus. My stations were featured. I've had individuals recognized as Employee of the Year, Unit of the Year, Unit of the Month, Employee of the Month. There was an article how they felt that we turned around the image of that one of the stations that I was in charge of, and just the amount of work we done and reducing the number of water leaks. So those were highlights to me, being able to accomplish various things while being in charge or supervisors of various stations. On a personal note, for the Department of Public Utilities, I was the manager of the year one year, and that was truly an honor. I have had awesome colleagues with the city of Cleveland, but to be recognized as the manager of the year truly touched me and meant so much. Another career highlight for me would have been the co-chair for One Water. And to date, so far, it was the biggest One Water. It was in Columbus last year, and it meant a lot, to be asked to take that position and counted on and trusted. And we put in a lot of work, and I think we had a great conference. And hopefully, many of you on this call were there, and will be at the next one. And look forward to that. Another career accomplishment for me has been a Southeast District Chairperson. Holding that position and helping others and grooming others to succeed, and the presentations and shows we put on. We normally do a spring meeting. We have a fall meeting coming up. We're going to be in Etna, Ohio. If anybody wants to attend, you're more than welcome. We're going to tour their water plant, and we're going to present some great speakers for that as well. And of course, being One Water State Champs or AWWA State Champs for our hydrant and tapping competitions. What helped me prosper and what helped me grow? Faith. Without faith, I would be nowhere. I would have nothing. It was instilled in me by my parents. It's something I've lived by. And not only faith in God, but also faith in yourself. People will treat you how you treat yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, if you don't have faith in yourself, then that's how people will generally treat you. So if you have faith in yourself, if you believe in yourself, that is seen by others, and people treat you how you treat yourself. I would definitely say support, having a support system early on, it being my parents, currently it being friends, colleagues, and more so my family. The push, the encouraging, the support, the ear to listen, the understanding. Unfortunately, sometimes we have to make difficult decisions or stressful days at work. Having someone to, share those problems or issues with, or just simply have somebody to listen and talk to, is very helpful, and it's helped me prosper and grow. Perseverance would be another thing. Nobody said this race would be easy. I think we take for granted or assume that life is going to be a cakewalk. Life is going to be easy. We're going to have difficult days. And I would challenge you to say during those difficult days, think about your previous difficult days. Think about the challenges you've already overcome and just persevere. It's said to be darkest right before it's light. And so just holding that kind of attitude, persevere. Sometimes don't worry about how you make it to next week. Just worry about how you make it through today. And for me, failure was never an option. Like I just refused to fail, whatever it was. So my mom used to say this, that nobody's better than you. And she wasn't saying that I was better than anybody, but that nobody was better than you. And I've lived my life on wanting to be the best, wanting to be near the top, and not thinking that I was better than anyone, but not thinking that anyone was better than me. So for me, failure was never, ever an option. Just like we can't fail, we won't fail. I am not going to fail. And hard work, like it just generates results. Like, you can't expect for everything to be easy. You can't think or hope that everything is going to be just always a walk in the park. You're going to have hard days. And once you understand that you're going to have hard days, you can prepare for those. Um, Life experiences is probably the biggest, and not per se even my life experiences, but even others' life experiences, the things that we may see others go through, and definitely also the things that we experience. But just it helps you grow, it molds you, it develops you, and it gives you, an opportunity to maybe see what someone else is going through, an opportunity to see things from the outside, and sometimes an opportunity to experience and yet also see those things from the inside. And another thing for me would be parenting. Why parenting? Because it was the foundation in my life. My mom, my dad, and um, and now in my parenting, the lessons I learned interacting with my children, both the adult children and the younger children. Um, Parenting sets a foundation, and it also will expose you to other life incidents, other life choices, other things that are going on in life, and what's happening in life. It's huge as far as helping you to understand what's going on in society today, because you get so much back from your kids, your nieces, your nephews, anyone where you're in a authoritative position over someone or in relationship with someone. Why did I choose water? Before we get into some advice that I may have, it's kind of a story. So went to Ohio University, was there a year and a half, was actually on the dean's list, and kind of did not feel like I was doing what I wanted to do. Um, my mom kind of pushed me, you're going to school, and of course, being the best child she has, I went to school. And prior to going to school, I had an opportunity to do some intern work with the city of Cleveland. First as a summer student, then as an intern. And they were always kind of trying to persuade me, some of the supervisors, like, hey, why don't you come work, make money, and you can come home and make plenty of money, and finish school at any time. And I was kind of thinking about that. And I woke up one morning, it's like, I'm done with this. Went home. And uh, finally, my mom and dad, had to have the talk. And my dad was like, if you're not going to go to school, you're going to work. And he took me down to the Labor's 310 office, construction laborers office, got me signed up. You're going to start being able to make some real money. And then my uncle, his brother, he was a city councilman at the time. He also worked for LTV Steel. And our nephew, and they call me Lavelle, and he talks uh, very proper. And he says, Lavelle, I think it'll be better if you do this. And all in the background, I was listening to my dad. I can go here and make a lot of money. I can go to the steel mill and make a lot of money with my uncle. One of my other uncles was also employed there, Ed Lee. But he talked really loud because of all the machinery. And I was like, do I really want to do that? So one evening before final decision was made, my mom grabbed me and she said, let me talk to you, son. I said, yeah, Mom. She says, what does everyone always need? And I had no clue where she was going with this. And she says, what will people use every day? What do people need every single day? I'm not sure, Mom. What are you talking about? She says, water. The opportunity is there for you to go work for the city with the water department. Take it. Do that. Come work for water. We'll always need water. And my father was pissed. I mean, he was irritated. Oh, you're taking the easy way out. I was trying to help you make real money. And I'm sure they had some closed door discussions as well. And then my uncle kind of was like, hey, we make a lot of money down here, and you can, build a great life for yourself. And oddly enough, about 5 years after that, we had our first kind of, well, for my age group, our first kind of recession. And my dad started to experience layoffs, and things were closing, or they didn't work a few months, or and different things. And maybe my mom was right. Shortly after that, you had the collapse of the U.S. Steel, and most of the American steel mills started to close or shut down because we were buying steel from overseas. And a lot of people I know that worked in the steel mill ended up having to recreate themselves and go find other places to work and do other things. And about 10 years ago, my uncle was standing around a family reunion. He says, man, you sure made the right choice. So choosing water was kind of following and listening to the guidance of my mom, and her influence and her having the foresight to realize that, hey, that money may be good up front and it may be good right now, but you can have longevity. And 32 years later, she was right. I am headed into my 32nd year total of OPRs, all either with the city of Cleveland and now currently with the city of Columbus. And I've been able to build a very, very good life for me and my family. Um, Again, we have a 38-year-old, we have a 31-year-old, a 29-year-old, and 11-year-old twins. And I think we can say they don't want for anything, to be able to help them. And they don't require much, don't ask for much, but just to be in a position to help them travel and do different things. It's sure she was right. Mom was right. So um, my father probably won't get me a Christmas gift for saying that, but mom was right. So advice. Why choose the water profession? Why go into the water profession? Like my mom said many years ago, water is a world necessity. It's needed and required for everything we do. Preparing our meals, cleaning and bathing ourselves. So many of the bigger companies, the Googles, the Intels, the Ohio State, so many of the campuses across the world, their IT infrastructures need to be cooled with water, drinking water, hospitalization, schools. It's a world necessity, and it's some places in this world that does not have access to clean, fresh drinking water. So with that, there's also an opportunity. There's a wide option of career choices, whether that be a chemist. We have chemists at 910. We have painters. We have construction type employees. People are out in the field. We call them water maintenance workers here. We call them pipe repairmen in Cleveland, but they perform the same job. These are the men and women that are out day in, day out, making repairs to our system, making sure that the water that our plants treat is delivered to you and it's good quality, safe. We have engineers. So there's a wide variety of choices and careers if you want to be in the water industry, and the opportunity to change. You may decide after a number of years you want to do something different, and so those opportunities are there. There you also, it's not just a job, it is a career. Like, you really have a career. You're not just like standing at a machine, stamping plates, repetitive things over and over again. From our customer service to any position there, it is a different experience every day. It is a different customer interaction. It is a different set of problems. It is a different set of rules. And then for me, I was just a feeling of accomplishment. You solve a problem, you help someone. If it's an engineer designing water mains, approving plans, or their various job functions and tasks. One of the biggest things going on now is the home road water plant, and all the thought and thinking going into that to make sure adequate water is provided for that area, that region. of Delaware County. And so, just that feeling of accomplishment. I used to ride past our larger leaks or main repairs and be like, oh, I did that. Or you'll see them on the news one morning, and then to hear the news report back, or that leak has been fixed, or that job has been completed. It's an opportunity. If you want to be in the field where you feel like you need to feel like you've accomplished something, that opportunity is there. Like I said, it's been a world necessity. It has an impact and purpose in everyday life. Like, try not having water. Try not going with water for a couple of days or so, and you'll see just how important water is. More advice was those, whether it's in the water sector or any field or any career choices, learn as much as you can. Become involved. Join various organizations. We have the diversity committee. You have YP. We have 4 districts in Ohio: Southeast, Southwest, Northeast, Northwest. Get involved. Be a part of the future of water. There's a lot going on. The lead lines, we all understand the impact of that and how that's going to grow and change over the years to come. And just, there's so much to do with water and water reuse. That's going to be another thing. How can we conserve or better manage or better use the water we've used and get the most out of it? I would say it'd also be very helpful to obtain a certification. As mentioned earlier, I have a Distribution 2 certifications. I'm actually working towards a wastewater certification at some point. When I finish my studies at Franklin, I plan on going back and retesting for that and obtaining that. And I have a number of other certifications through FEMA. They offer free education and training to get certifications, your on-the-job training and certifications. It's all important. What you learn, nobody can take from you. And dedication and hard work. It don't come easy. You must be dedicated, must be willing to work hard. You must be committed to it. And you'll see, it pays. It dues is due diligence. And then for me, it's a work-life balance. And it's key. And that's where the family aspect comes in at. Whether family is just you and your wife, you and your partner, you and the dog, work-life balance. Make time for the significant other in your life. Make time for the things you want to do. Because if not, you'll get burnt out. You'll begin to hate your job. You'll begin not to feel like doing this. And then, you if you don't communicate with your loved ones, the significant other in your life, your partner, your spouse, you grow apart. So I would say there's a work-life balance. Life is too short to be all work. And I'm kind of, if I work hard, I play hard. So I would recommend that you have balance in your life. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, and why it's important to me. Unfortunately, I've faced discriminatory issues in my career, and I've decided to try to use it as a motivation. Um, Initially, being African American, there wasn't a lot of like people in my profession, meaning not a lot of people look like me. So that was challenging at one point. But I use it as motivation. And why is it important? Well, my high school, Garret Morgan School of Science, there's a station, a water plant in Cleveland named after Garret Morgan. And so many people don't realize how many ways he's played a part in our daily safety. Garret Morgan was the inventor of one of many inventions, but the stoplight. So he's helping now regulate traffic as we go home. And he's been gone a lot of years. He's also invented the gas mask, and that story is tied to the salt mines that run under Lake Erie in Cleveland. So you never know who's capable of providing help, answers, and solutions despite the color of their skin, their gender, their race, their sexuality. Um, we all are created equally. We all bleed the same blood, except for Michigan fans. But we're all created equally, all created the same. And it's sad that occasionally you're discluded or excluded from something because of the color of your skin. So diversity and equity and inclusion is extremely important to me, only because of some of my life experiences. Um, I've actually heard within the last 7 to 8 years that I got a job because I was Black, and the city had to hire so many minorities, and that was hurtful. Um, as many years as I've had, and as much education as I've had, and just much experience and knowledge as I've had, is that some people still think that you're awarded something because of the color of your skin. So trying to be just diverse, because being diverse also will allow us to provide and reach the community. If our workplace and our work organizations and our thoughts mirror that of our communities, it gives you a key. We're stakeholders, and we should be able to communicate with the community. But if you can't familiarize yourself with them, if you're not understanding that community, you can't relate to that community. So you may need the life experiences that I talked about earlier, or the um, upbringing from someone else to help you better understand what this community needs, what this area needs. So diversity provides a voice for the community. It provides insight into the community, and it provides the grounds of communication for the said community. Being feeling diverse and inclusive and equity within the workplace will help you feel valued. If your organization really pushes and strives, and you as a manager push to be diverse, um, push to be have equity and inclusion, it help your employees feel valued. There's nothing worse than being in a situation feeling that you're limited or held back because of your personal choices. Um, so just looking beyond that, and what can this person do work wise? What do they bring to the table work wise? I what they do after they leave me is none of my business. And you never know what you can learn from somebody and who you can learn from. I'd also say it's key for companies, and those are normally the successful companies. And recently, some of my studies, companies that provide diversity, equity, and inclusion are more successful because you have more ideas, you have a greater, broader thought process. You come up with more well-rounded decisions. You come up with just a bigger pool of answers, and it's not this narrow stream, one-track minded. Someone else's, again, life experiences, something they've learned, their culture, their customs, their traditions may help provide insight and answers to a problem you're trying to solve. Again, it provides a variety of perspectives on just life, period. Gives you a better understanding of people. Some things we may take as polite in other countries may be found disrespectful. There was a story about one of my studies overseas where we shake hands. Not all cultures find that as respectful. So some cultures they bow. So you begin to understand how what you take for granted, by having other people in the room, it opens your eyes. It helps you experience, understand, and see the total world, and not just the world you've lived in, not just the streets you've grown up on, the places you've visited, but it gives you an extension of a view into the world. And then those that provide training, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and those that are willing to embrace that, and it makes a well-rounded workforce. Teaching, showing the people why their differences are okay, why their differences are acceptable, how that helps us, it is key and important. And so for me, that's the key with diversity, equity, and inclusion. I want a team that is well rounded. I want a team that is strong, and I want to hear everybody's story. I want to, you don't always look like what you're going through, and you learn what motivates others, what pushes others, what helps others to be successful. So, to have a stronger, better world, diversity, equity, inclusion is key. It is actually one of the questions that I ask during the interview process when I'm looking for prospects to come in is, what is it important? Why is it important? And what does it mean to you? And even using it sometimes as a teachable moment, because equity, some people don't understand equity. They think equity is equalization, and it's not quite equalization. equity means just a little bit different, and it's breaking it down and explaining it. Then, unfortunately, sometimes some of our candidates think that equity has something to do with money and home loans, and it's an opportunity to teach, help, and help them grow. So, for me, diversity, equity, inclusion is key. Um, I think it's essential for a successful organization to embrace it. And I would actually recommend that we as individuals embrace it. And um, last but not least, this is key because in everything we say and do, not all people are supposed to be loyal to you. Some are meant to come along as a reminder to watch the company you keep. Not everybody will embrace or celebrate your success, so be mindful of that. Um, TD Jakes has the My Three Friends things, and he's talking about how if you tell somebody good news and they don't rejoice like you rejoice, then they really not your friend. Um, I would also say be mindful that anybody is capable of disappointing you. And that may seem harsh, but I think sometimes we say, I never thought that this person or that person would do something to me. And just if once we learn that anybody is capable, now that we've gotten beyond the shock of you're disappointed, you can refocus, you can lean on your faith, you can continue to work hard, and you continue on. But my thing would be that hard work, faith, dedication, support um, is all key, all successful. A little bit more about me. See, what else have I done? So I've coached basketball for 15 years, or about 15 years. I had the opportunity to coach sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, both girls and boys. I was freshman coach for St. Martin de Porres. I was a JV assistant coach, so I really enjoyed basketball. Spent a lot of time doing that. Coached baseball, t-ball early on. I played in high school. Went to OU. Was going to play football. I had a knee injury, so unfortunately, that quickly ended football career. I was actually a member of the Army. I joined the Army in the 11th grade. They used to have what was called split option training. I did basic training between my 11th and 12th grade year, and was to be full-time upon graduating high school. I sustained a basketball knee injury and had to have 2 or 3 surgeries that summer, and was medically separated from the United States Army. Um, what else have I done? In Southeast Chair, very involved in my church back in Cleveland. Enjoy that. Love to fish and hunt. Anybody ever want to challenge me? Let's go. I'm Cleveland everything, even though I'm still from Columbus. Browns, Guardians, Cavs. I've had the opportunity to be at the championship game, NBA Finals championship game, left there and walked over to a World Series game. So I actually got to see a World Series game and the championship game in the same day. And hopefully one day, John, I don't know if you're on here, Brian, maybe we'll get to see a Cleveland Browns Super Bowl, hopefully. So that's pretty much my story. I'm willing, ready, and able to take questions at this time. If the panel is ready, here's my information. If anybody may want to contact me, talk to me after this.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing with us. That was a really informative and presentation full of a lot of wisdom that I'm sure everyone was happy to hear from you. So yeah, like you said, we're gonna open it up for questions here. We do have some pre-submitted questions online, but we can also just unmute and ask your question, or as I see some people have started doing, we can just put them in the chat and I will read them. So I will start with question. The water sector is having a labor crisis where our folks who currently work in this sector are getting ready to retire. How do you think convince enter this, knowing that they will be working in the elements and may have telecommuting opportunities available to them?
One of the things we need to work on is financial compensation. I mean, it's just that's where that, and then recruiting young. So many of our high school age kids are not aware of the career opportunities. So we need to get into the schools. Not everybody wants to work from home. Not everybody wants to be indoors. You know, a lot of my guys now, when talking to them, I say, "Hey, why do you keep? You know, you want to be out and Columbus is not as bad as Cleveland winter weather wise, but they enjoy being out in the elements and not and doing a different job every day, going to a different location every day. But it starts to me in the school. I think we need to continue to grow and develop apprentice programs and just sharing that knowledge with our inner city schools. I actually think it's the key to solving a lot of our inner city problems with getting the youth off of the street. Give them a trade, give them something to do. Honestly, when I went to school, you had home ec, you had mechanics, you had so many things. We have so many young men and women who don't know where to put air in a tire at, who don't know how to change their oil, how to check their oil, because we remove so much of this from the schools. So I think if we can reach back and grab our youth and pull them along, we'll replenish our workforce. And it's the willingness to create the buy-in. But to me, you go to the youth and you recruit them, you educate them, you talk to them, and you have to meet them where they are. I've spoken at some of the schools. I'm a shoe person. As a kid, we had one pair of school shoes, we had one pair of play shoes, and I promised myself when I get older that I was going to buy all the shoes I wanted. And I think my wife told me the other day I'm several hundred pairs of tennis shoes. Like literally, I had 3 pair of Jordans delivered this week because I am a shoe person. And when I go into the schools and talk to the kids, first thing they see, the conversation started is the shoes. Oh man, he got on Jordans. And then once you have their attention, you can relate to them, you can talk to them. Cleveland had a pretty decent apprentice program. We're working on one here in Columbus. And I would just say so often we forget about our youth and we have to invest into training. We're going to have to train them. We're going to have to be willing to spend time with them. And so to me, that's it. And people love it. I mean, we got construction workers, money, and that'll be one of the things. But you just have to be competitive in your wages.
Awesome, thank you. Um, One of our pre-submitted questions was, what do you think are some current barriers to people of color entering the water sector for a career, and what are some things that the industry and local governments can do to fix this?
So one of the challenges for people of color is just not knowing what we do, not knowing and having knowledge of the career choices and opportunities. When we go into the schools, or when I've been into the schools previously, they don't realize that you can be a chemist and still work in the water sector. They don't realize we need painters. They don't realize we need electricians. We have a tendency to send HR personnel, training personnel into the schools, and not all kids relate to that. So we need to send like people into the schools to meet them where they are. Again, I talked about communication. You can tell something all day. It doesn't mean that they're receiving that communication. When a child, especially as a coach, when a child can relate to you, when he can understand what the expectations are, they buy in. And once the child begins to buy in, you can help them create any goal or dream and help them find a path to accomplish that. But it's going to start with number one, how we go into the schools and the willingness to say that, you know what, we need to be diverse in our approach. Maybe I don't need the secretary or the HR officer. Maybe I do need a maintenance worker. We used to send a full truck and they could see like people, oh, a jackhammer, and oh, this is what they do. Because if I don't understand or know that that opportunity is out there, I won't ever pursue it. So I think that we have to get into the schools and they have to see like people. And once that educational knowledge is there, what do you see on TV all the time? Basketball players, football players. So that's what they want to do. And until they can see us in front of them and explaining what we do and showing them what we do. And honestly, like I've told kids my salaries, and I've gotten kids that have said, "Hey, can I have your number? Can I have your card?" Because now their interest is sparked, and now they see, oh, I can still do cool things and have a legitimate job. And so, it's reaching out, being willing to diversify our approach, and going to get our kids off of the corners, off of the streets, and recreate stable environments for them and provide learning and growth opportunities for them. And so I think for people of color, we need to see more people of color that they can relate to.
Thank you. These are more some questions that are more about your specific
Okay.
and what you do at your job, but how do you rate, this person wants to know how you would rate the overall infrastructure.
You froze. Can anyone else still hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Alex, can anybody hear Alex? I didn't hear his question.
Let me
About the
see if I-
infrastructure. What do you
Yeah.
think? What do you think is the state of the current infrastructure here? I would imagine in Columbus.
Okay.
That's the only part that I get.
So I think Columbus has a decent infrastructure. All infrastructure is aging. There's a lot of building, so at the same extent, Columbus has experienced a lot of growth. So we have a very solid infrastructure. Things that generate issues for infrastructures are freezing and thawing or bad material. Some of your northern cities or cold weather cities are going to experience a lot higher rate of breakage just because of the constant shifting in the ground and freezing and thawing. We don't have nearly the break total that some of our northern partners have. And so I think we have a very solid infrastructure. There's a very good corrosion program in place. The chemists and engineering companies have done really well with designing our system. So, I have nothing but total confidence in Columbus's infrastructure and where it is today and where it will be in years to come.
Charles, I have a question. What would you say, based upon your experience, is an effective, reliable employee? When I come to work, what makes me from where you are, from what you've seen, what makes a really effective, reliable employee?
First off, will be one that actually comes to work. So you got to be there. So to me, being there would be the first one. After that, pride in his work. Because if you have pride in your work, it doesn't matter if I'm watching, the supervisors are watching. You're going to conduct yourself in a outstanding manner just because of your self pride. And then hardworking, willingness to learn, willingness to follow, and when the time is right, a willingness to lead. Those that will step up. So, and we've seen that in a lot of our employees recently. We've had some young men who came in as great listeners, and now they're developing to great leaders. And so you have to be willing to listen. You have to be able to follow direction. And then when the time is right, you have to step up and be willing to give direction. Have those difficult conversations. Some people make it personal and it's just business. And, if you put on the big boy pants, you got to wear the big boy pants. So that's kind of how I look at it. It's just the willingness to do what you're expected to do, whether I'm watching or anyone is watching or not. So it's kind of like, how do you feel about yourself and what are your own morals and standards? But coming to work, working hard, willing to be followed, but also willing to lead if called upon.
Charles, I had a follow-up question to your response about having our employees of color helping out with the recruiting process,
Yes.
and so that kids can see themselves in that role. Yeah, that's super important. But just wanted your advice on how do we respect those colleagues' time and interests. Like, it's not, the onus isn't on them, right, to recruit. But at the same time, we don't have, unfortunately, in my particular organization, a wide spread of folks that can recruit, who, how do we respect their time and interest without overtaxing them and making them feel tokenized? That's my question.
Right. I've found surprisingly enough that if people are aware that they're wanted or needed, that they're willing to step up. Just so often those roles are not even given that opportunity. That discussion is not had. Unfortunately, for some of the smaller companies or those that are not as diverse as what we need to build partnerships with other companies. It doesn't matter if you're engineering in your company or another company. Sometimes we need to outside stakeholders as well as internal stakeholders because, one of the issues now is trying to find water plant operators. We need to. It's nothing wrong with calling Cleveland and say, "Hey, you having this problem? What are you doing?" Cincinnati, Toledo, what's been successful to you? But so often pride gets in our way and not wanting to ask for help or assistance. My guys would love to be able to pull their truck up to a school and talk to the kids and give them some inspiration and talk to them. A lot of times assumptions are made that our field guys or our field employees or other employees don't want to take on these tasks, these roles or their duties because traditionally they haven't been allowed. But it goes along with me or honestly having that difficult conversation. Do we communicate these needs with our employees? And a lot of times people don't even want a compensation for a Saturday or some time to talk. They just want to know that they've given back or helped. And especially people of color, like being able to help because we didn't see a lot of things growing up or we didn't have different exposures growing up. So now to know, okay, how can I help make life better for someone else? There's a willingness to do that. Some organizations are very good at it, and we can model ourselves after like organizations that have very good standards. You can read a lot of the business magazines, see how their internal employees rate them, what are they doing, and inquire. A lot of companies don't mind sharing their secret to success. And so to me, it would be communication and talking to these employees and saying, hey, would you be interested? And everybody wants to feel valued. And in a lot of ways, that's helping an employee feel valued because, hey, I was asked to go talk to some kids today. Now, it ain't for everybody, true enough. And if you have limited choices, you have to develop other partnerships.
Yeah, and I would assume respect, not over asking them. So say, we ask you once and you come, and then, hey, can you come again? Can you come again? Like, I'm just wondering if you have advice on how to respect that boundary for them.
So the way it was done is you set the expectations up in the very beginning. If you're able to, hey, we're going to have 4 speaking opportunities. Are you able to do 1, 2, 3, none of all? And then when a person kind of knows up front, or hey, we're looking for a commitment of 4 different engagements. It's set the expectation and standards. If it's a one-time thing for that employee, have that conversation. Hey, this is something you'd be interested in doing multiple times, one time, or just this one time. And then that way you can establish, we had agreed in one of my former employees where you picked the days you wanted to go speak or help. And you knew months in advance, you knew days in advance. And right, that gives a person, it's not the last minute. It's not, I'm forcing you to do it. It's almost volunteering. You're giving them a choice of when they want to help, where feasible and where applicable. So I would say it's communication and setting what the expectations are. Hey, we're looking for a volunteer group to mentor to the kids, to recruit, or this, that, and the other. Our expectations is you would be able to do this 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, twice. Or we're building a program. We want your input on what would help you or what would allow you to volunteer more. So it goes back to me to communicating the expectations and what you feel is required to make your program successful.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's really, really helpful.
I think we have an issue. I work for the city of Dayton. I think we have an issue with taxing the same people to do that same task of going out and speaking to the students and things like that. But our other issue is that if a supervisor isn't going to be at that thing, they don't want to send a blue collar worker because they don't trust them for whatever reason. Like, we're not all adults here. So I find that to be an issue with trying to involve more people because they're like, oh, well, if I don't come back at the right time, I'm going to get in trouble or something like that.
That is truly understandable, and I think that's where we set the expectations and the guidelines for the program. Like, you'll be released at 2. We expect you to be back at 3, and it's treating people like adults. And but you have so much in so many institutions or organizations, old school, new school. We certainly need to rid ourselves of some of the old ways of doing things. But honestly, when we engage our employees in conversations, see what they like, set the expectations, like, it really works. It's helpful. Upon starting in Columbus, there was not buy-in in certain things. We met with the employees, we spoke with them, and it only takes 1 or 2 to crack that egg. And once it starts, eventually the cancer will leave. They'll decide that they no longer want to be a part of that. So I would still say that it's communication. It's one step at a time. It didn't get that way overnight. It's not going to turn around overnight, but we can't throw in the towel because a few stubborn folks don't want to be involved, because there are people that want to do more, and it'll help make them better, more well-rounded employees as well.
Charles, not to put you on the spot, but do you feel that the water department has made progress relative to DE&I hiring and also promotion? Sometimes we get lower level or moderate level promotion, but promoting people to the top.
On some cases, yes, some cases, no. It's a work in progress. We've diversified greatly since I've been there. One of the holdbacks for a lot of departments in South Central Ohio is education and having a degree. Some of our other partners have involved, utilized, or found ways to allow experience to have value as well. And I think we do sometimes miss out on outstanding leadership quality candidates because they may not have a bachelor's degree. I think education is important. I think it's so important that as a 50-plus-year-old gentleman, I'm almost finished with going back. But would I say that I would be more qualified or more experienced than somebody just coming out of school with a bachelor's degree? Yes. So I think we sometimes miss the mark with the balance of education and experience, and that's generally tied to, unfortunately, race. Not as many African Americans in Central Ohio or Cleveland, Ohio, or the inner city of Cincinnati have had the same educational opportunity and choices or advantages as some of our counterparts, or we've had family difficulties or come from broken homes, so we don't have that extra money to go to school, or quite frankly, our parents were never experienced enough to prepare us for that next step or that next level. Some of them became parents early. Some of them, it was always work. It was never education. It was always kind of, oh, you're going to get up and go and get a job, because they weren't exposed to that. So it is up to us to break that cycle. But there's been some improvements. I think there's always room for an organization to say, how do we get better? How do we be willing to be different? And how do we break the status quo? Because we're going to lose some quality employees over degrees, 20-year employees over degrees, and we're going to bring inexperience in, and that's sometimes we take the steps backwards.
Well, we're coming up on 6:30 here. Definitely want to respect your time, Charles, but if anyone has any other questions that they would like to ask, there is his contact information on the screen now. Feel free. I'm sure he'd be happy, since he posted it, to have people reaching out. But Charles, I just want to thank you again for being here with us. This meeting is also being recorded and is going to be posted on our YouTube, probably in the next few days. So thank you again, everyone.